Under certain circumstances, you would think closing schools, if you are taking all these measures and keeping people away from each other, would be a good idea. And certainly we know with influenza, with flu, that children are major drivers of transmission. But we don't necessarily know that that's the case with this virus. So out of the large amount of Chinese data that came out, only about 2% of the cases were in people under the age of 19, so children. And of those, only a tiny percentage had severe infections. So it may be that stopping schools may not actually have a dramatic effect on transmission of the virus compared to other measures that we're doing. We know that 80% of people who get this infection seem to have a mild or moderate infection and get over it in 2 weeks. And we suspect that once they get that infection, they'll have immunity at least for a year or two, if not for longer. And it's unfortunately only the people over 60 and those with underlying illnesses who are at risk of more severe infection. Having said that, if you look at data from China again, about 6% of people under 50 were included in those who passed away. So if you have large numbers of infections, you may still have relatively large numbers of young, healthy people getting serious illness. So I don't know if we can just have a chickenpox party and expose our healthy people to infected people. We look at two factors when we think about how infectious a virus or a bacterium is. We think about the reproductive number, so how many people an infected person can infect. And this seems to be quite high with this COVID-19 virus, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, about 2 to 2.5 people. But influenza seems to be slightly faster at infecting people, which is the other factor we look at. So it seems to be as infectious as influenza overall, but the big difference between influenza and this is that we are all susceptible to COVID-19.